In this lesson, we're going to write the function for sending a message in app.js. As always, you can start off from where we left off in the previous lesson using a git clone command. Don't forget to install the node dependencies before you open the project file. Let's go straight into app.js, and we'll start coding the send message function. We're going to be sending our message to the receiver address given by the receiver element in the home page. The first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the receiver address is not empty. I'm also going to use Web3 to make sure that the receiver address is a valid Ethereum address. So at this point, we have a valid Ethereum address. Let's capture the content of the message in a variable called newMessage. And let's make sure that the new message is not empty, because we don't want to send an empty message. So at this point, we have a valid message that we want to send. So let's clear the message input and also disable the send button so the user doesn't use it twice. The user will have to use MetaMask to submit a transaction to send a message. So let's set the status label to instruct the user on how to do this. Now let's set up an object to interact with our smart contract functions. We've done this in the previous lessons. We'll use the instance variable from the callback function. In addition to the account, I'm also going to input the gas limit and also the gas price that I'm willing to pay for the execution of this function in the smart contract. If the function executes successfully, we'll get a receipt. Let's output that receipt to the console and also inform the user on how much way they spent on executing this function inside the smart contract. We did something similar to this in the register user function in previous lessons. Finally, let's catch any errors and display them on the console. That's it for the send message function. Let's write the reply to message function. This is a really simple function and doesn't need much explaining. Let's scroll up and initialize the reply to address. The copy address to send function allows the user to avoid manually entering the Ethereum address of the recipient and instead does a simple copy and paste. Let's save this file and exit to the console. So in the send message function, you notice that I manually set the gas limit and the gas price for that function. Let's go ahead and copy paste that gas limit and gas price into our other smart contract function calls. Let's quickly test our application. To do that, I'm going to first run Ganache to start an Ethereum node. You can see here that we have two accounts. Let's go back into the console and run our script to deploy the contract. After a while, we should see our transactions inside Ganache. And the contract has been created. Let's run our dev server now. Let me open the console for Chrome to make sure we don't have any runtime errors. Now I'm going to log into MetaMask and import the accounts from Ganache. Let's refresh the page. Now we can see the contract owner and our own Ethereum address for the current user that's logged in. Let's import the second account into MetaMask as well. If we refresh the page, the first thing we're going to need to do is to register this user and to set up an inbox. We did this in the previous lessons. MetaMask will pop up a transaction which we'll need to approve. One thing I want to mention here is that if you open MetaMask and look at the transaction for setting up an inbox, you'll sometimes see that the transaction gets stuck on pending. To fix this, one thing you can do is to switch to the main network and then immediately switch back. This should fix the problem. Now we can see that the user is registered and the Ethereum address for that user is also input into the user directory. Now let's try to send a message to the contract owner. I can simply copy the address from the user directory. We'll write a message now. Hello. Looks like we have an error in our code. So let's open up app.js and go to this line. Looks like it's just a simple spelling mistake. So let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to save and exit. Let's try sending another message to the contract owner. This time we'll say hi again. This time MetaMask popped up a transaction window. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And you can see after a while that the status message says message successfully sent, and it'll show us the gas spent. You can also open MetaMask and see that transaction. Also in the console, you can see the receipt that's been output by this transaction. This receipt is really useful and there's a lot of information that's inside of it. For example, the block number and also the status. So this concludes this lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to write the function for retrieving messages from the inbox of the users. Again, if you had trouble following along with the code in this lesson, you can download the final version of the code using the git clone command you see on the screen. I look forward to talking to you in the next lesson.